Hello and welcome back. On today's show we are talking Nicholas Roeg's The Witches. So grab yourself a cup of tea and join me on the Pumpkin Podcast. Released in the UK on May 25th, 1990, The Witches, directed by Nicholas Roeg, is based off of the Roald Dahl story of the same name. The film stars Angelica Houston, Rowan Atkinson, May Zetling and Jason Fisher. Now, the film follows a boy and his grandma who run into a group of unsuspecting evil witches who wish to turn every child they encounter into a mouse. The Witches was originally supposed to be distributed by Lorimar Television, but the company dissolved. The picture sat on a shelf almost a year before being released. The film eventually was distributed by Warner Brothers, and the film had a budget of 11 million but managed to garner a sum of 15.3 at the box office. The picture is the last Jim Henson had creative control over before he passed away in 1990. Many argue that his last film was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But The Witches is so undeniably Henson, and it really is unlike any other. Both Dahl and Henson died the same year as The Witches debuted. Fellow Muppet puppeteer Steve Whitmere and Jim's son Brian Henson worked on the picture and puppeteering Luke's mouse form, so I will pass you to no one other than the man himself, Jim Henson, to talk about the magic behind the film.
Witches is an adventure story. It's really a story of a little boy as he meets the Grand High Witch and gets turned into a mouse. And then the story is a sort of a battle between Luke as a mouse and the witches. A, B, and C size. The A size is literally the size of a mouse. We made a B-sized mouse, which is cable controlled. It's about this big. And then this one over here is what we call a C-sized mouse. This is a C-sized version of Bruno, so it's large enough to operate as a hand puppet, and we had to shoot it in such a way that this mouse, this gigantic, enormous mouse, had to still look like it was only 2 inches big, and it was complicated to do that because it meant that whenever we were shooting this, we had to have very large pieces of scenery to keep him in scale. But at the same time, this version of the mouse is the most expressive.
She's got some peanuts too. Dry roasted? Yeah.
She's got some peanuts too. Dry roasted? Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Come on.
What the computer enables a puppeteer to do is to compose expressions on each finger and to generate their performance through that medium.
When they leave the theater, hopefully the audience will feel exhilarated, will have felt they went through this great big story and came out on the other end, and it's quite a warm, wonderful, happy ending.
The Henson Creature Shop also curated the makeup effects for Houston's Grand High Witch. The get-up took 6 hours to put on and another 6 to take off. The prosthetics included a full face mask, a hump, mechanised claws and a withered collarbone. Angelica described how uncomfortable the prosthetics were underneath all the lights with long takes on set. As the witch's disguise, Roeg insisted that Houston wore a tight dress and maintained her sex appeal as the Grand High Witch. Why, I do not know, but I can only gather that being attracted to her makes me squirm if the fallacy of the film's transformation were to be a reality. Many scenes were cut from the film, most notably seconds from the witch's first unveiling, as Roeg's son cried in horror as the events unfolded on screen, so a decision was made to leave the seconds on the cutting room floor. I guess just to add a little bit of extra context here, Henson was part-time with the Muppets. He really wanted to broaden his creative visions, and although The Dark Crystal is now a cult classic, at the time it really wasn't very well received and it was his most ambitious venture to date. The Storyteller was not so successful and neither was the Jim Henson Hour, and there was a kind of complicated feud between Disney and the Henson Company over the creative direction of the Muppets, which is why I feel that this film is so special, because it's so Jim. It scares the children just enough and wavers the adult's sanity with wild visuals to make them feel as though they are once again children. Both Henson and Rogue wish for the witch to have a demanding physical presence, graceful yet dark. Before Angelica Houston was cast, many actresses were suggested for the role: Susan Sarandon, Sigourney Weaver, Linda Blair. Angelica Houston at the time of filming was dating the gorgeous Jack. He would often send her massive bouquets of flowers to wherever she was filming, which would send the cast and crew into a frenzy, of course. As well as gushing over Hollywood A-listers, The Witch's production had a flood of its own, damaging a substantial amount of equipment. Star Rowan Atkinson left his bathroom tap to run, flooding both his room and the ceiling below, halting pre-scheduled production for hours. Production faced its woes. Henson wished to change the ending of the script, the book, and Dahl heavily disagreed, so as a compromise, 2 endings for the film were filmed. The first being the happy ending, where we see Luke transformed back into his human form, of course the theatrical version, and a second where Luke stays a mouse. Dahl watched a very early cut of the film with the book ending and he cried, but Henson and Rogue settled on the happier ending. Dahl protested his name be taken off of the film credits, but Henson in his gentle manner swayed him against such a decision. Dark, eerie and creepy. There really isn't anything like it. I have such fond memories of this book as a child, and the imagery translates perfectly to screen. The film really captures innocence and evil with an epitome figurehead for each. The witches I believe to be an analogy for adulthood and our fear of growing up and growing old. Do we all look alike and lose our voices by turning into mice? The witches really symbolising a government of careless individuals who wish to only benefit themselves, yet are described as glamorous saviours. The film itself captures the book-like essence, and the introduction and the tale of the girl in the painting make for the most intimate storytelling. We all have a fear of fading away. The film is a perfect capsule of its time. Cheesy but timeless effects that make up for eerie ambience, almost imagination-like. The practical effects are nothing but the finest and allow this film to settle into history as a firm scaremonger for children of all ages to beware stranger danger. However, there is no use denying Angelica Houston is really the star of the show. From the bizarre accent to her insanely well thought out physical notion, every move is that of a Grand High Witch. The purple eyes haunted me as a child. The close-up shots of real cigarette yellowed 1980s teeth, alongside bad wigs and excitable expressions, was plenty enough to fuel nightmares. And although a delicate tale about trauma, the witch's duplicitous appearances make for a visual treat, far more worthy of more than one viewing. Maybe witches are real. They work ordinary jobs and they wear ordinary clothes. So next time someone offers you a sweet, or they hold their nose around children, beware. She might be a witch.